on point. Jrod on point. Come on. New Jersey. New York. Ohio. Puerto Rico. Ha. Yeah. Come on. Get your dance on. Break your leg up. Let's go. Yeah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Break your leg up. This is that New Jersey shit. That New York shit. That Puerto Rican shit. Let's go. We in Ohio, baby. Let's do it. True crime. Yeah, Boricua Morena. Yeah, come on. Big shout out. Rest in peace, Big Pun. Let's go. What you got for this? Get you dance on, baby. Get you dance on, baby. Ha, ha, ha. Come on. Yeah. Ha. Shake it. Whoa. This is how we doing true crime now. Muévete, mami. Ah. Dale, dale, dale. Candela, candela, candela. Puerto Rico in the house. This is how we do over here. The On Point Family. Ha, ha, ha. Go. Big shout out to everyone watching. It's your boy, the host of the most, Jrod on Point. We are here in YouTube. Big shout out to our subscribers. Thank you for the subscriptions. Make sure to please click like and subscribe to this content. This is the most accurate analysis overall in true crime. I want to send a big shout out to my brother from another mother, Harsh Reality. Big shout outs to you. Big shout out to you, my brother, Harsh Reality. We could say that he's the meatballs and I'm the spaghetti of the sauce. No pun intended, my brother. No pun intended. You're my guy. You're my guy. But it's great to also see that another content creator, I'm not gonna mention his name, it has implemented the word sauce to their vocabulary right after I put that video out saying and making it clear that it's a lot of content creators that are lost on the sauce. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended. And that's good to see that a small content creator like myself is being watched by big content creators. Big content creators. But we are about to listen to my brother Harsh Reality. We are gonna listen to my daily dose of Harsh. And we're gonna pay attention to what he's talking about. We just gonna let it roll. We're gonna let it roll. We're not gonna interrupt Harsh Reality on his deposition. I want to make it clear right now, guys. We are not to interrupt the video to say not a thing. We're gonna let the video play out of respect to the content creator. Because I want the content creator to delegate their whole performance. And again, out of respect to their art, out of respect to their creation, out of respect to their content, out of respect to harsh reality. That's my guy. I don't want no one to misunderstand my words. Big shout out to harsh reality. That's my guy. It hit different when it's Jrod on point telling you that it hit different when Jrod on point is talking about his brother. Harsh reality. Boop, boop, boop. Big shout out to the UK. Big shout out to the UK. Big shout out to the UK. But let's stop the introduction and let me introduce to ya someone that don't need no introduction. My brother from another mother. The meatball of the spaghetti. Harsh reality. Let's listen to you, brother. Let's listen to you.
Well, hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're doing well. Fantastic Monday morning. And by golly, do you look damn fantastic.
Thank you.
As usual.
I know.
Now look, before we get into the meat and potatoes, I just want to say something. That is that please, please, please understand that this video is in no way trying to say that what happened at 1122 King Road was right or justified or deserved, anything of the sort. That's not what this video is about. What this video is about is looking at the potential for this to have been a cartel-related incident. Now look, I know some of you will be completely against the idea, and there will be some of you that are dead set on believing that is truly what happened. Now there is a link in the description of this video which will take you to True Crime Design.
Who?
Dave on Top Red Swimwear at Sierra.
And what that video will do, these two videos kind of will go
True Crime Design. I'm sorry I interrupted you, brother.
hand in hand, and what that fantastic video over there will do will give you some background information and some more in-depth in terms of other things that have happened, statistical analysis, news reports, and actual professionals coming forward and speaking on this subject. What I'm going to be doing is talking about how that could translate into what happened at 1122 King Road and what we've seen subsequently. Let's get straight into it. And first of all, what makes this even worth considering at all? What makes this worth considering is kind of three elements to this, and that is one, that parents, families of at least two of the deceased were involved in narcotics. The fact that these parents and their cases were very close to around the time that this situation at 1122 King Road happened, literally either side of the dates, and one of the parents had actually taken a plea deal to get a lesser sentence.
Serious.
So look, what some people are going to say at this time is, look, maybe the volume and the type of narcotic behaviour in them was not what you would say was enough to trigger something from the cartel. That's what I know that a lot of people are going to be thinking. But what we've got to consider here is that we don't know how much of an issue has to arise before the cartel will take notice and decide to take action. And could the style of action that we've seen in the 1122 King Road, in fact, be done in such a way that it was indeed more of a warning to those who were continuing to do what they were doing, perhaps for the cartel's benefit, to say, look, before this spirals out of control and becomes something bigger, we're just telling you that we're not going to hurt them. And I'll explain more about that later. But yeah, so why this is even worse in the first place is that families of the deceased were involved in narcotics. Maybe on a lower level, Cara Norvington especially was seemingly the worst of those. And look, I'm not saying what she did impacted, but what I'm saying is it cannot be completely disregarded. I think it would be naive, foolish to completely not look at that. Even if you want to believe Bryan Kohberger was involved and he did the crime, you still have to consider the motivator for the crime itself. And there are only a handful of motivators for murder of this nature, and they generally are money, drugs, some kind of relationship, sex, jealousy, and retaliation. You know, there are obviously more out there, but they seem to be the most prolific in terms of why someone would go out of their way to take another person's life. So even if you want to believe that Bryan Kohberger was involved in this, whether he was the gunman, if you like, and I don't mean as it, you know what I mean, the trigger man, or if he was a cleaner, if he was a driver, involved somehow, then we also know that he too has a narcotics history. He has a narcotics background. There was nothing in his background that would lead you to believe that he was a stalker of women. He had history of inappropriate behaviour. Yes, we've heard a random story about him being in a club, but I would say that that is proving that he's as normal as you or I. A guy in a club, a few drinks, pretty girls around him, he may say something that might make a girl want to slap him around his face. You know what I mean? That doesn't make him a killer, it makes him a male. But he had a narcotics background, he'd been in that world.
Mr. Shields got a whole lot stronger. We're now offering 1 year of complimentary maintenance.
And there are other stories sort of on the peripheral of that makes it sound like he was still sort of dipping his toes in the water, perhaps even with Bryan Kohberger. We don't know what the validity is in them stories, but those stories exist. So we can talk about it. Dave had come forward and said that, look, this was a party house and that there was narcotics in there being sold. He had bought and had seen others buy, and he also spoke on the fact that when this went out and there was seemingly this confusion surrounding perhaps someone in the house being it wasn't a stabbing, but someone was unconscious, his first thoughts were that it doesn't surprise me that the volume of narcotics in there, it wasn't out of the realms of a possibility that someone could have potentially got a bad batch, something laced with fentanyl, for instance. And that then, when someone's saying that then makes you understand that we're not talking about certain types of narcotics. We're not talking about marijuana, for instance. We are talking about heavier drugs that can cause issues. So look, moving ahead, because what we're saying is there was drugs in that house, there was, things being sold. And we've just spoken on the fact that there were parents on the peripheral that were involved in that world. So, it's not out of the realms of possibility that this house could have sparked the attention of someone. When drugs are coming in, they are obviously purchased from someone. There is a chain, if you like, of where they go, and eventually you'll get to someone who is high enough to be upset if something goes wrong. Now, there are stories things on the peripheral of this 1122 King Road
Peripheral.
would suggest that there was a potential for some narcotics to have been disposed of. We also hear that there was arguments on the peripheral that would say that not everything in that house between these girls was as hunky-dory as some may lead you to believe. It would appear that there was arguments between them, so things were a little bit frosty, and we don't know, and I won't start to speculate on what that could have been in connection with, but what we do know is that those that survived the attack and those that were killed in the attack, there may have potentially been a rift between them. But look, ultimately, what would a cartel want to do with this? What is the idea? What is the thought process behind it? And why were there survivors left? And are there clues in this that again support the idea that this was in fact a cartel hit and it was more about sending a message? And this is what we're going to talk about now. And that is this. Look, people consider, when they think of a cartel hit, they think of guns. They think of guns being used because that is, across the years, and what you mostly see is gang violence. But what that is generally about is higher level, street level gang members fighting one another. That is when rival gangs generally come together, there are turf wars, and that is these people fighting one another. What we've seen in 1122 King Road is a different scenario altogether. This is a potential that you've got people who are working alongside the cartels, whether they are several rungs down the ladder or not. Ultimately, the selling of that product benefits the guy sitting at the head of the table. Now, with what's going on in the background, with parents and their potential court cases and taking plea deals, well, what is generally a plea deal? A plea deal would say, I'm going to give you information that assists you, and in return I want to be awarded for that information by a lesser sentence. And that's incredibly important. We also see the use of knives and not guns in this scenario. And it could be argued that when a gun is used, it's fine, it's final, it's done, it's dusted, it's quick, it's, it's horrific, but it's quick, it's done, game over. When you talk about what happened at 1122 King Road, that was the polar opposite. You will see in the video that I mentioned at the beginning from True Crime Design, there's a small clip which is Steve Salvans, and he's talking about specifically the weapon injuries. And look, we have been programmed throughout this case to believe that this weapon was a K-bar weapon. We've seen a sheath, and that was it. But there are little elements to this case that would lead you to believe that there is a possibility that that is not the case. Or even though it could have been that weapon, the way in which that weapon was used was perhaps not what you would consider, and I'm trying to be PC for the algorithm, for YouTube. It makes it more difficult to portray what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is this seemed to be about being horrific, and I wonder whether the people who was in that house who are survivors, now their behaviour in the aftermath of this, the delays in calling 911, does that not go hand in hand with, look, if someone walks into there and they shoot up that place, you have a massive spectacle on your hands. You've got law enforcement in the area, you are surrounded by other buildings, you're surrounded by college students, you unload a gun in there, that's all of a sudden going to very, very quickly go out of control. But you go in there quietly, maybe you're even invited in there. It's not unusual for you to be in there at all. But things escalate and things happen. But people are told this is not being talked about now. We're going to leave and you don't call until X time. And if you do not listen, then this is what will happen to you. I can almost see that being a thing. And would that person who had been told that, would they dare speak to anybody about it? Or would they be more inclined to think, right, how do we now, without making ourselves look guilty and without...
This is Chief Payne's Honda Accord. But he hasn't touched this thing in over 15 years, so
making the cartels or these gang members go after our family, our loved ones, even us, our friends. How do we deal with this? And how long will it take to deal with that? To come up with a different plan? And I think to myself, what do we know about Bryan Kohberger? We know Bryan Kohberger because of what we've been told, that he came into this area that morning. And he came into this area apparently around the time that the Snapchat messages, the Snapchat thread was being highlighted. And we also know that Bryan Kohberger has subsequently called forward one of the survivor members, Bethany Funk, because apparently she has exculpatory evidence. I wonder whether that exculpatory evidence is that Bryan Kohberger was called over by someone else in this house. And was it at this time that Bryan Kohberger gave somebody in that house perhaps a K-bar weapon or a knife sheath for protection? It wouldn't be the first time that we've heard and connected to Bryan Kohberger being called by a female in order to assist her when she felt in danger. Now again, I understand that this is completely speculatory. This isn't fact. This isn't. But it's possible. It's possible. You know, at the end of the day, we can look at Bryan Kohberger and think, does this guy match it? When you try and discuss, okay, it was Bryan Kohberger, and you utilise the idea of what causes someone to kill, and you look, money. Was it money? Would Bryan Kohberger have hurt these people at 1122 King Road over money? Can you see that? You look at revenge. What would it be revenge for? What did they do to him? And if it was revenge, why doesn't anybody else know about Bryan Kohberger in these girls' lives? The same with a stalker. If there was a love interest and and it spiraled into some jealous, infused rage that people talk about quite often. Or drugs, narcotics. Again, you're back to this same scenario. If there was drugs, it was narcotics. It could be that Bryan Kohberger was up to his neck just as much as the rest of them. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is we cannot completely remove the possibility of this being gang related. If there was narcotics in the house and they were being sold, those drugs came into Moscow from, when you go further down the chain, they come over the border from Mexico. We know that this area has an issue. We know that. They can't hide it. You can go out and do your own research and find out enough about it. And again, I suppose the only issue here, and the biggest argument against it, is does the volume with which they were dealing with, would that have warranted what we've seen here? But are there clues that perhaps the volume was more than what some people may believe? We see at least one of the victims with a nice vehicle. I know what people are going to say. They'll say, well, it wasn't a new one, it was a used one. But look, I don't know what it's like in the US.
Only
but in the UK, you don't see many students, college students, driving around in Range Rover Evoques, whether it be on HD, whether it be bought outright. And I've heard people say, well, she saved half and she was going into a nice job, she'd secured this nice job. But that nice job weren't paying her. She would go into a nice job and be paid handsomely for that. But that isn't what paid for this. It's what would have paid for future ones and nicer ones. But this Range Rover that she has now, that was paid for somehow. Now, could saved all of her life. Pocket money, money that she was given from her parents, Saturday jobs, whatever other jobs that she had. Is it possible? Of course it is. But it doesn't look good in this situation when we are hearing from a person who apparently himself, by his own admission, had purchased narcotics from that house and stated that it was not something that they found out of the realms of normality if someone had overdosed in that house. Or even, he goes on to say, for those of you who haven't heard it, that their thought process when they learned what had happened is that 911 is saying this was targeted. That was so early on that they said that. That was coming straight out of the gates that they believed that this was targeted. But then they very quickly retracted that. It was like they stepped the foot in it. And I think to myself, I think back to that logically. I think, right, so if you're saying that that is a target attack, but multiple victims, then you're saying the house was a target. And if you're saying that quickly, then the only thing at that stage that would have made sense was narcotics. It wouldn't have made sense at that stage to come to that conclusion so quickly and to put it out publicly if you believe that this was a love situation, some online stalker situation, because you wouldn't have had any evidence of that whatsoever. And we already know that very early on that they'd spoken to the likes of Jack the Cure and he had been ruled out. So at the stage with which law enforcement had put out that that was a target attack, I believe that they believed that this was narcotics related. That's what I believe. But then very quickly retracted it to get out of that, the spotlight being on them for that situation, because again, that's bad for business. Them having an ongoing narcotics issue in Moscow, Idaho, and potentially having sales and distribution is bad for business. 100%. And what that is going to tell people coming into this place is that things like this, what you saw at 1122 King Road, is just the beginning. What you saw happen was a warning from the cartels to the other people in the area, because we do hear that there are other houses in that area that do exactly the same thing. Some less, some more. But it would be interesting to hear if the ones that they say perhaps had a little bit more, whether their parents had connections to drug charges and plea deals. Let me know where you sit with it. Like I say, there was an argument for, there was an argument against. But I think those who completely ignore the fact that these issues exist are very naive. Now, as usual, I have to remain on the fence with it because there is not enough proof or evidence to support or either way. But I'm not naive enough to think that it's not a possibility. 100%. Like I say, my only issue is the volume situation, with the volume of what they were potentially dealing with, enough to warrant what happened here. But the thing that very much does concern me, like I say, is the fact that these in this house, they had parents. Plea deal, that's a cocaine wow. When they think that there are people in this house where their families are starting to talk, what information they're given, is that enough? Let me know down below. I'll catch you all in the next one.
So that was my brother from another mother, Harsh Reality. Big round of applause to Harsh Reality, and in the way he broke it down. That was a great deposition. That was great. Do not misunderstood. Do not misunderstood the joy that I get out of watching, the entertainment that I get out of watching Mr. Harsh Reality. So, I'm gonna give you my expert, and I'm gonna repeat. I'm gonna give you my expert opinion. Why I'm an expert in this topic? I guess because I spent 20 plus years of my life working with criminal organizations. Probably I'm an expert in this topic due to that I spent 20 years plus in criminal activity, organized crime. That was in my past. Not proud of it. But unfortunately, I have enough knowledge about anything criminal, organized, and non-organized is all about. It hit different when Jrod on Point talks about this. It's hit different when Jrod on Point talk about organized crime in the United States of America and internationally. Fortunately and unfortunately, I have belonged and been part of an international association. For years and years and years and years, since I was like way before high school. I want to say high school. Officially in high school in the 1994 when I first hit high school. That's when things got official, because I already been jump off the porch way before. But in high school everything got certified. That was a long time ago, 1994. So in my expert opinion about the Idaho 4 case, and due to the information that I have shared with Moscow PD, due to my own personal investigation in this matter, this task in hand. So to reply to harsh reality, my brother from another mother, the meatball and me the spaghetti of this sauce. I want to explain that the whole community, every single person that lives, resides, and is part of that chunk of land right next to the college, right next to the fraternities, right next to the sororities, right in the middle of the sauce. This community is well known to be the Scottish Rite community. Everyone and anyone that lives around that house belongs to the Scottish Rite. Everyone and anyone that lives in that chunk of land, off campus, in that area, they all belong to the same entity. Which is part in conjunction with the University of Idaho. Let's be clear. Everyone that lives and resides in that chunk of land around 1122 Kings Drive. They all belong and are members of an entity that joins the whole community together. I'm gonna tell you right now, it don't matter how many drugs are sold in there. I'ma promise you something, and I'ma be clear. Yes, we have Latino Mexican nationals in the University of Idaho. Yes, they do. Yes, it's a great possibility that these young students might be connected to the cartel somehow. Their parents probably be connected to the cartel somehow. We don't know. At least you don't know. But in the whole area is well known. The only people that has control of what happened in the whole area is the University of Idaho. Do you want to know who's king? Do you want to know who's king? King is the University of Idaho in that area. Yeah, it's gonna be elements of the mob somewhere. Yeah, it's always gonna be elements of the Illuminati there. It's always gonna be cartel elements in there. But in that particular area, y'all need to know the cartel will not put their elements inside right next to the Illuminatis. That's not happening. The cartel, I'm gonna repeat myself again, my expert opinion is due to 20 plus years being part, active in organized crime. Don't need to give you the details about, but I've been 20 plus years involved in taking part of international organized crime. Very happy to not be part of that, because again, when you pay your dues, you do your job right, and you keep your mouth shut. You get to go on vacations and retire. Especially when you prove to the plug that you know how to keep your mouth shut in the middle of an contempt of RICO. 30 plus suspects. And he got dismissed. So yeah, that's what happened when you keep your mouth shut. Cases 9 times out of 10 go away, because you're allowing the law, you're allowing the state to work your case while you keeping your mouth shut. And if the state really had anything on you, it is what it is. It is what it is, because when we came to this business, we knew the consequences and the what to do and what to not do in organized crime. Especially international organized crime. So let's go to the meats and potatoes. Enough about me. The Mexican cartel will not bring elements inside of the property of the Illuminati. They are not going to go to war with the Illuminati. I hope y'all know when these people work hand in hand, and I'm part of. When everything that is going on around the world, the Illuminatis and the government elements are part of. Do you think the cartels are not part of the Illuminati? Big shout out to my beloved grandmasters. Big shout out to my Scottish rites, Masons from Scotland that follow me on Twitter. Big shout out, many blessings to the grandmasters from Scotland. Please look after me in the same way God looked after me. The same way you have looked after me for years. Thank you. But in the meats and potatoes, the spaghetti, me, myself, and I is going to tell you what's going on. Ain't no Mexican cartel here that will go to any property linked to a university, college, fraternity, Scottish rites. They are not gonna attack for no drugs. They are not going to attack for no drugs and lose a bigger bag out of something like this as the Idaho Full Massacre. I could promise you right now the cartel don't have nothing to do with the killing of these 4 students. Big shout out to all my Mexican brothers. Y'all know who y'all are. But I could say strongly and firmly and without any doubt that any and no Mexican cartel has anything to do with this. Yeah, drugs might be involved because yes, drugs being consumed by the perpetrators. Drugs being consumed by the helpers. They're helping to cover this case up. Yes, it's drugs involved because they're being consumed. These young adults are the money. They are not going to kill the money. They are not. Listen, the cartel might provide some services as any other drugstore. Let's be clear. The cartel might bring services to the community, to the particular community that they handle right now. So let's say if anyone is going to make money out of selling drugs in that particular area, it's going to be the elements of the University of Idaho, fraternities, sororities, Scottish Rite, because they are the ones in full and total control of that particular area. It was some person commenting in my comment section, oh, but this is an off-campus house. No, it's not. It might not be a property owned at the moment by the campus, but it was still within campus territory. So it's not off campus. It's not like it's a mile away from the campus. It's within in the campus. So when you call it off campus, it's just to distract the fact that the people in control of the crime scene, in control of the narrative, in control of what's going on, in protection of, they protecting themselves. There's no Mexican cartel going in here to this particular area to do no business. If the cartel is involving any services to the community, they bring their services to the owners and rulers of that particular area. They will not sit down and talk with no peon. The Mexican cartel representative will have meetings with the owners of this land, with the controls and rulers of this land. Moscow, Idaho, whoever runs, which we believe that is the University of Idaho components and affiliators, people around the University of Idaho, board of owners, directors, you know, the one percenters, these big Illuminati people that run shit, runs the government, are well connected. Private corporations, umbrella corporations. Do you understand me? Is no Mexican cartel will bring their own elements to work here because they get their money from far away. Their money's a big bag. Their money's not itty bits. They are not gonna come to a university campus area which is secure by the University of Idaho at all means necessary with the help of the government. Listen, guys, y'all remember what happened with those American citizens that got killed in Mexico? What the first thing the Mexican cartel did? Give up whoever did this. Because the Mexican cartel don't want no war with United States of America Illuminatis. They work together. They don't want no beef. They don't want to give United States of America an excuse to invade Mexico. It's going to be bad for business, and I don't think United States of America want to do that. If it was any Mexican cartel elements or involvement in this killing, in this massacre, their own cartel, their cartel itself will gather whoever did this and will give him up to the authorities because that's out of the rules. The cartel don't behave like this. I totally understand the harsh reality. Don't have no idea of what the streets in United States and Mexico and Puerto Rico internationally are all about. We well aware the harsh reality. My brother from another mother don't have no idea, none, which he could be calling a place of ignorance. That's okay. It's okay to be ignorant because you don't know. When you don't know, you are being ignorant of what's going on in reality. And that's okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that word. And I hope my brother harsh reality don't take no offense on that or with that. But due to harsh reality, don't have no idea at all whatsoever of the inner workings of a criminal organization. Don't have no idea in the up-to-date today. Don't know how today cartels or any mob or any criminal entity, gangs, we could tell the harsh reality have no idea of how criminal organizations works in the United States and in cahoot with Mexico and in cahoot with South America and in cahoot with North America and in cahoot with Europe. And in cahoot even with Russia and Asia. Listen, man, it's a lot of money flying around. They are not going to mess up the bag. The Mexican cartel is not going to go there. Not even because what we was talking about earlier. Not even because a tattoo that those students might have. Listen, the Mexican nationals in the University of Idaho are totally there just for education. Because they have a bigger purpose in life. It don't matter if that's in the right side of the fence or on the left side of the fence. It don't matter if it's a legal purpose or it's a legal purpose. But these Mexican nationals are there in the University of Idaho just to get educated. Their reasons and purpose after their education, that's their own. I hope y'all dig my drift. Is no organized crime organization outside of the University of Idaho. If its criminal elements, they belong to the University of Idaho, fraternities, sororities, all kind of elements within the structure of the University of Idaho. If it's any criminal org in the University of Idaho atmosphere, they are the ones that allow what's going on right now. This is why we see the 8 to 9 hours delay and the 4 to 5 hours delay after it was reported. So we're talking about 13 to 14 hours that this crime scene is not being fully processed. Let's be clear. This crime scene, it took 13 to 14 hours to process. Anything could have happened between it. It's too long of a time. It's too long of a time to start processing. It's too long of a time. A lot of stuff happened between it. A lot of people knew from both universities what was going on way before the cops did. So that means that I believe that the University of Idaho high ranks, the tippity top of the University of Idaho, had knowledge of what happened in this house way before the cops did. And the delay for the cops to get there, the people was about to process this crime scene, and the coroner, due to they all sipping the tea together, they meet up with the elements of the University of Idaho and discussed the narrative way before they got there. By the time the cops got there, they have a clear idea that this was a targeted attack and this was a crime of passion. So let's be clear. The only person that could have killed these 4 young adults is Jack Decor and his friends. This is my theory. Jack Decor and his friends.